Hello, everyone, and happy Green Party Tea Sundays. Yay! So I am Kalia J. Fitzgerald for Green Party Tea. Please like, subscribe, and follow, leave comments, do all the things because we are always trying to grow. So, speaking of growing, um, tomorrow is what is it? 420. Yes, happy 420 to all of my folks out there in the world that do celebrate the 420. And I would like to go ahead and show something to you all. And hopefully the sound doesn't go out. I was told that last week some of the sound went out at the end of the show. So I did want to come back in and kind of see how I could do with that. But I want to introduce you all to the campaign, the petition to legalize marijuana. Yes, that is it, because that is actually something that the Green Party is talking about. Because the Green Party supports an immediate end to federal marijuana prohibition. So if you would, you can go over to gp.org/legalize underscore marijuana. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in the comment section so you all can take a peek and go ahead and get that taken care of. So let's talk about it so we could be about it. All righty. So we all know that the legalization of the prohibition of marijuana is systemically disproportionate because it affects more marginalized communities, specifically the Black American community. And so we also see that it is not something that is as horrible as, say, alcohol or even cigarettes, to be exact. It falls way, 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 way down on the list of those things. So when we talk about legalizing it, we mean decriminalizing it as far as in the court systems in jail. There are too many people that are in jail for minor possession and things of that nature. I don't remember seeing too many people be in as many accidents as I have ever seen with other of these narcotics that are banned. So at the Green Party, again, legalize underscore marijuana. Sign the petition. The Green Party has long been in favor of legalizing marijuana. The end the War on Drugs section of our platform states the following. In the War on Drugs, redirect funds presently budgeted for the war on drugs towards expanded research, education, counseling, and treatment. Amend the Controlled Substance Act to reflect that drug use in itself is not a crime, and that the persons living in the United States arrested for using drugs should not be incarcerated with those who have committed victim-oriented crimes. Legalize possession, sale, and cultivation of cannabis/marijuana. Strike from the record prior felony convictions for marijuana possession, sale, or cultivation. Grant amnesty and release from confinement without any further parole or probation those who have been incarcerated for the use, sale, or cultivation of marijuana in federal and state prisons and in county city jails, and who otherwise are without convictions for victim-oriented crimes or who do not require treatment for abuse of hard drugs. Provide the option for drug treatment to those leaving confinement. And then implement a step-by-step program to discriminalize all drugs in the United States. Excuse me for a second. Sorry about that. It's kind of windy out where I'm at. So, are you in favor of federal legalization? I'm sorry, I can't even read today, of marijuana. So far, we have 3,846 signatures. On 420, I would like for us to have 4,200 signatures. Wouldn't that be a symbolization of what we can do when we put our hands together? So at 3,846. Let's have 4,200. And I'll check back in on it next week to see if we met that goal, because that's something that we really need to do. Legalize marijuana. So they ask this information with your signature, and you can see that different people have signed on, and that is a very wonderful thing. So happy early 420 to my people out there that are definitely celebrating. Make sure you're safe as much as possible. Do all the things that are great. And thank you again for being able to celebrate not only that, but having the platform to legalize marijuana. For some unknown reason, I'm seeing again today that my camera is not working right, and I don't like it. So I'm going to see what we can do about that so that everything is working correctly. Now, with that, I, as many of you know, have many hats, as they say, in not just the North Carolina Green Party, but the Green Party of the U.S. as a whole. That being said, when you have many hats, you have many responsibilities. So recently, I have taken on the responsibility of being nominated to the steering committee of the Green Party US. And I'm not saying that to gather any votes, because I am going up against a very worthy opponent, Ali Schmidt from Texas. So again, I'm not saying that to garner any votes. I am saying that because as a person who's worked on campaigns, has done community involvement, who has worked on many different things, I like to leave behind something that even if I win or lose, can be carried on. So as I do a show that is centered on the Green Party, our candidates, and the things that we do here and abroad, I wanted to take the time, as I said when I was looking into it, to actually measure up to what I'm talking about. And in doing so, I wanted to create the National Committee Corner, or the NC Corner is what I'm going to be calling it. Because as a member of the National Committee, you are a delegate, alternate delegate, or some other delegate from either state or caucus. And we come together, we vote on things, and there is a steering committee that is the body of that, the leadership body of that, who makes sure things get done. We steer the conversation, the direction, and the National Committee of Delegates, they vote on those things. So what I wanted to do was just be a voice for what's going on, because I've seen sometimes that we can have votes that are needed, votes from different states and things like that, but we're not always having people respond. So I would like to be a voice to say what's going on in the National Committee, how we can boost everything that's taking place there, and where you should be going to get that information. So if you are a Green Party state delegate or alternative delegate, or you are on a caucus, a national caucus, such as the Black Caucus, the Lavender Caucus, the Latinx Caucus, and you are a delegate from that caucus, well, if you are not on base camp is where we are right now, trying to get everything situated, because base camp is new to us. We are working to get everybody on board and on base camp so we can ensure that when votes our discussions are going on, you'll have the opportunity to discuss, as well as when it's time to actually vote, you are aware that votes are happening. So I will be trying to provide some of that information, but not giving away the information that is inside of what's going on, because those things have to be voted on. It's not like we're hiding anything, because all of that stuff is mainly public information. You'll be able to find it other places. It's on the website, some places, depending on what you're looking for. However, these things are discussed and they're voted on. Some things are voted up, some things are voted down. And I would like to be able to let people know what's going on and allow the delegates to do their due diligence, as talk to their states about what's going on, talk to the people that are in their party about what's going on, or caucus, and be able to vote how they should be voting, not with any other thoughts in mind. So as that is being said, I'm going to go ahead and go to our base camp right now. And in going to our base camp, I'm going on my phone, my handy dandy phone. Yes, I am. And going to our base camp, we have the national committee. And when we go to our national committee, we can see what we are discussing, what's in the voting queue. We have a calendar, we have check-ins and things of that nature. So right now, in the voting queue, we had, and I believe this one it ends last night or it ends today. Not sure. I'm trying to see because it doesn't have the time frame on it. The latest one we had was, yes, this one ends today. The proposal 1288 for Dues Research Group. And so if you are a delegate or alternate delegate, please make sure you check in for your email or on Basecamp for that proposal. And we also had the second proposal that, well, yes, the second proposal that is due, and that is 1289, the closure of the GCCC. So those are the two things that we are working on in voting right now. There have been a lot of discussions taking place on these. I am not going to give my opinion on them because I don't want to influence anybody else's opinion. This is just an informational thing to let the NC folks know that you have time to talk about these things. If you're a Green Party member in your state and you haven't heard about any of these things, go ahead and ask your leadership to talk to their delegate about it. These things are in their last couple of hours of voting. So since I'm just starting this NC Corner, you might not be able to get all the information you would need to get within the next few hours. However, I hope that if you haven't heard about it, you'll get that information. So those are the two proposals that are right now in the voting phase and will be closed voting tonight. And I believe that goes on the Western time frame. So probably about 3 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast, will it be closed. There are some proposals that are going on for discussion and things of that nature. So with that being said, those proposals, once they come up, when they are discussion is being heard on it, I'll also present that information. So we do have a discussion for the proposal to amend the GPS 2026 budget. So that goes into discussion. This is the last day of discussion. And then tomorrow for 420 through 421, so a short period, it will be the time to vote for the proposal to amend GPS 2026 budget, and that is Prop ID 1290. Please have your delegates look into that because the discussion period is tonight. Voting period begins tomorrow. I'm just going to see if we have anything else in discussion before I close out our NC Corner. Or I might find another title for it, but I did say I'd make a commitment when I decided to run for, well, I was nominated to run for the steering committee position. So like I said, I am a person about my word. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. And this way, it gives me the opportunity to put that information out there, and people who are from the states also know what is going on. So yes, in the national committee part of our base camp, if you went over to the voting queue proposals, you'll be able to see what we're discussing as well as what's in the voting period. So 2 are closing for voting tonight. 1 will start for voting tomorrow. And there are a lot of other discussions going on right now. I am so excited about a lot of these things. And I know some people will say things are overwhelming. However, this is just how we do things. It is a party full of a lot of people who have ideas and things that is going on. So one of the things that we're talking about right now is SMART goals. And if you are aware of what SMART goals are, I'm pretty sure that you have seen them probably in your workplace, but there's nothing wrong with having SMART goals as a part of a party like this when you're talking about committees or other things like that, because SMART goals push you forward. Just like I talk a lot about having a SWOT analysis at the end of any project or campaign, SMART goals are something to start with because it gives you somewhere to go. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. That is SMART. S, specific, M, measurable, A, achievable, are relevant and time bound. So when we're talking about those SMART goals, the methods are clear, they are realistic, among other things. Like, you wouldn't want to say in a project where you are trying to make your visibility better on social media, you wouldn't want to have one of your goals be to reach the astronauts on the moon. Don't even know if astronauts have access to their social media while they're on the moon. So why would that be a goal? It needs to be something realistic. So we would like to see something that is trackable. Like, okay, well, within a week, we want to see 5% more growth on this. So that's a trackable goal. And what it does, it creates that environment for these things to actually work. You set a goal, but you have to have accountability in those goals. You have to be able to track the goals. So those are the things that are being worked on right now. So if you've seen it in your workplace, or you've seen it through GPUS, or anywhere else for that matter, SMART goals are something that you definitely want to have as far as the beginning. And I'm pretty much a fan of a SWOT analysis at the end. So there are a lot of different things that you'll see there. One of those things is the agenda for the steering committee. So those things are public knowledge. You'll know what we're talking about. And I have seen some of those meetings go on for 3 hours, and then our steering committee goes into executive session, and that can go on for hours more. So a lot of work gets done on the national side because a lot of work needs to be done. And we encourage members to be volunteers. Come on over to the national side and see what's working. There are committees there for you to be a part of. As for myself, I can tell you I'm on some committees on the North Carolina Green Party side, but I'm also a delegate for North Carolina to GPUS. So those proposals I was talking about discussing and voting on, those would be something that I would discuss and vote on. I bring them to our CC in North Carolina to talk about. We do have our meetings. Sometimes we talk about it. Sometimes there are talked about through our base camp, and then we go from there. I am of the opinion that it is not just me voting for things. It is me representing my state as these things are being talked about, discussed, and voted on. So I will lean in that way. Not only am I just a delegate, I am also a member of our GPUS Annual National Meeting Committee. So like last week when we were talking about the annual national meeting and how to sign up for everything, that was something I was familiar with because I'm a part of that committee. And we might go back to some of that tonight because I do have some questions that were asked of me and some things that I want to clear up about that as well. I'm also part of the National Media Committee. So that is things that we do. Social media. We have also our print media with green pages. We have Substack, different things of that nature. And we do press releases. I've seen how those press releases go and I love it. So the structure of it is also, it's really amazing. Craig Cayetano, sorry, he's very good with getting the analytics of our social media and how we can boost and do different things. So the one thing I always ask people to do is if you see the Green Party anywhere on social media, be our advocate because no one else will. We do not get on the corporate branded news outlets because they don't like us. They don't want to be with us. So if you see Green Party anywhere, listen to it, like whatever you're seeing, if you like it, subscribe so you can get more information, comment so that we know that you are interested in those things, and let us know how we can improve. I'm also a member of the National Black Caucus. So there was programs that the National Black Caucus has done and things that are coming up. I believe they'll be tabling at the annual national meeting in Chicago this year. But the Black Caucus, I'm a member of the National Black Caucus, and I'm a co-chair of the Black Caucus of the North Carolina Green Party. And that is something that I hold near and dear to my heart because the Black community deserves a voice that is not bought out by the Democrats thinking that they own our vote for whatever reason. And it's also not something that the Republicans can take because they said, hey, the Democrats aren't listening to you, listening to us. I believe that the political realm has the responsibility to earn votes that they need. And I believe that the people that you see in the Green Party that are running for office are the people who are running in it to earn your votes, not to win your vote, but to earn your votes. And I think there is a big difference there. I'm also in the coordinated campaign committee, which is different from the congressional campaign committee. So there's one, the CCC, and there's GCCC. The Green Congressional Campaign Committee is the GCCC, and the Coordinated Campaign Committee is the CCC. So I'm the North Carolina liaison to that. So let's say you want to volunteer and you reach out and you're in the North Carolina area. I'd be getting that information to send on over to our membership chair, who's Ken Altig, and you would be reached out to from there. And so they would, send me an email. Hey, this person's from North Carolina, check them out. And I also volunteer with them. So I believe on the 20th of every month, we update the CCC with the candidates that we have running for office so that they can reach out to those candidates if need be, or, they have a running list for the Green Party so we can have that record when we're going into things like how many people ran for office, what kind of voting did you get, percentages, popular vote, things like that. So I do my part on that on the 20th. There's nothing, I don't need to report anything, or I'll say there's nothing to report. But if we do add another candidate, I will add that candidate's information. Also, a new member of the Presidential Campaign Support Committee. And so remember what I said earlier, where you can be on the national committee as a delegate from your state, which I am, or you can be on the national committee as a delegate from a caucus. Well, as the member of the National Black Caucus, I am a member of the Presidential Campaign Support Committee. So as you can see, it says presidential campaign. So we do things during that time. So right now we're not convening, but I believe there are things that we can do to support our presidential campaigns. And that includes things like having seminars about what it is like to run as a Green Party candidate, having some of those people who have run for Green Party before come in and talk about those things to help people through it. Because believe it or not, it is a process. You don't just get to say, hey, I'm going to get on the ballot and I'm going to run as the president for the Green Party. That's just not how everything works. You do have a process there. And I'm also a part of our candidate endorsement committee here in North Carolina. So I know how that process works because each state has their own criteria for whether or not you will appear on their ballot. And so does the Green Party US. And I can say that the Green Party US and the North Carolina Green Party have similarities in their progress because it was a collaborative work in order to get that to happen. So when you're running for president and you want to be able to get some advice and support or things like that, we do have that committee. I'm also a member from the National Black Caucus of the Credentials Committee. So we do credentials. I mean, it's pretty plain. It's pretty set out there. We do credentialing for our annual national meeting and things like that. So I wouldn't get into how all that is, but I'm just talking to you about the different things that I'm on right now. And then the Dispute Resolution Committee, also a member as a member of the National Black Caucus. And whether or not people do see it, people have disputes, okay? We are not a monolith in the Green Party. I know a lot of people think of us as those 70s tree-hugging hippies, but the Green Party is not a monolith, and you will see different types of Greens out there. And one Green might think one way, and another Green thinks another way, and everybody is not satisfied with how everything works. But what I can say is that regardless of our differences, what we come together under is our 4 pillars and 10 key values. And that's why I stay steadfast behind what the Green Party does, because at the end of the day, those are our driving forces. We may disagree on doing a virtual event versus an in-person event, but we will agree on something needs to be done. Okay. And so it seems like there's a lot that happens back and forth sometimes, and things can get heated. It is like a family. I had to think of it like a family because I've seen some times where I'm just like, whoa, 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 my goodness, y'all must really love each other to talk to each other this way. But it was all in love. Sometimes there's misunderstandings that happen. And yes, we do have disputes. It happens in local, state, and federal. If we didn't have disputes, then I think that we had a whole bunch of people who were just parroted talking heads. And I wouldn't trust it, to be honest with you. Sometimes I don't like the way the disputes are, but I also know that we need to have these conversations. And I see it especially with the youth and the older members. And I like to see the conversation happening because that means that the youth is involved. So anytime that I see the Yes Caucus getting involved in the conversation, I'm not upset about the Yes Caucus doing anything that they're doing because I want to hear their voices. If I didn't hear their voices, then that means that their voices were muted, either because they didn't feel that they had a safe space to speak, or they didn't feel included in that space. So I applaud them for speaking up for everything that they do. And also, when you have older people, and I'm not going to say the elder caucus because that's a whole different thing. But when I say older people, sometimes I mean older Greens, and people can be in the Yes Caucus up till 35, I believe. So yeah, they could have been in the Green Party for 20 years of, their voting life. And very much, I would say that they were a older Green, even though they are in the Yes Caucus. So that's not what I mean by older. I mean, that's in older in organizing in the party, older in doing things in the party, have more time in with the party about things. So when we're talking in terms of that, I don't like to say old guard all the time, but sometimes that's what it seems like. They have the information, they have the knowledge, they have the history. And I like to see that side too, because when you think about it, they have a lot of that richness in history that some of us don't have. So I want to hear all the sides of the conversation, from the newbies to the young to the old to the seasoned. And it gives me that sense of, okay, here are all the voices that are talking, and we have to get to what we really need. And once we get through that, I believe what comes out is what will affect the people. Because believe it or not, when we're in that national committee discussion part, we are talking about things that people on the streets around us are going to eventually talk about. So say, for instance, if the Yes Caucus says they want to see more national happening around the campuses and not just at campsites or different things like that. They want to have a discussion about it, and we have different opinions going on. Those different opinions are some things that you're going to see on the streets when people are talking about it. They might say, well, why is the Green Party only going to HBCUs? Or why is the Green Party only going to the northern states and not the southern states? Those are discussions that are going to be had. And so while we're talking about it, we can get answers to those things, not just for us, but for the people as well. Because to be honest, they may have scheduled to start the campus tours with HBCUs and expand once they've gotten a rhythm on how they're doing things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the people outside, after that decision has been made, might not know. So during that discussion period, we've come up with that narrative to say, this is where we want it to start, to have an impact in the communities that needed to see that the Green Party is indeed there for them. And then we grow into the other college and university communities, because that is an organic and natural approach. And as far as every other thing that we do, like the North I was talking about versus the South, maybe we had more people that were available to volunteer in the North. So we decided to start in the North versus starting in the South. It can be those simple things that are talked out in discussion for people to see and understand. And then you are able to actually implement what's going on. So those are the things that, we were talking earlier about the steering committee having those SMART goals. When we say these are things that you want to have to move forward, that is exactly what we're talking about. So in discussion, you get to see a lot of the answers to those things happening. And then when it comes down to, are we going to actually do this and implement it, you will be able to have that information when it comes to your vote. And you also get to take that information back to your state. So some of the things that you as a person may not have thought about, somebody in another state might be thinking about, because it's crucial to their state to know and understand those things. For instance, if something is going on in New York, right, and they want to have a big event and things of that nature, but the GPUS decided we're going to do this, in every state. Well, what if it's during hurricane season? Now, New York doesn't usually get, a lot of bad weather during hurricane season, but the Southeast, me here in North Carolina, I'm like, wait. We got to figure it out, because come August, like August to October timeline, I don't want to talk about it, because, we got things going on, and yeah, I'm more having to worry about preparedness for that than I want to be worried about anything else. So I might prefer that we have things happen in the spring, or, for us down here in the South, versus having anything in the fall because of weather. And people on the coast might be like, well, I didn't think about it that way. Even though we don't have the hurricane issue, we might have higher tides during that time. Or, after spring break is done, we might have a better availability to host people, because during all these months. So you have differences, but then Hawaii might come in and they might say, yeah, no, we don't want to have people coming here because we are trying to stop tourism for specific reasons. And we have to respect Hawaii when they say that. I think it's pronounced Hawaii, but to certain nationalities, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to say Hawaii for right now. But Hawaii might pretty much say, no, we are trying to get tourism to be less commercial and more, aligned with what we need for the island and our sovereignty. So we prefer not to do that. You can have it in California, and we will send representatives from Hawaii there. That's a collaboration with states. That's a good thing. But sometimes if you just jump into things without discussing it among states and their representatives, you won't get that information. So this is why these delegates are sent from their state parties and caucuses to be the voice of reason when things need to happen. So when that discussion is happening, okay, this is why this is happening. This is why I can't do XYZ this day, but I can do XYZ that day, or time period, whatever the case may be. So I do want to talk to you more about our national committee, our steering committee, and things of that nature. And we will do that as we move along in those things where we're talking about, oh, I see what's going on. When I try to get different things to come up, it starts slowing me down when I'm sharing things. I'm sorry about that, folks. I didn't know that was happening. So sorry about it. I will try to work on that and see what we can do about getting that together. But hopefully right now you'll be able to see me and everything they're doing. So I'm going to introduce you to our steering committee. And I'm just going to read to you what it is. This is gp.org/steering. The Green Party U.S. Steering Committee, or the SC, along with the party staff, oversees and helps execute the day-to-day administration and operations of the party. The SC is made up of 7 members, plus the party's treasurer and secretary, for a total of 9 members. Steering committee members must be national committee delegates, alternate delegates, or former delegates alternatives from their state parties. They are elected by the National Committee for 2-year terms with a 2-term limit. All right. So our current steering committee is Arshia. If you guys remember, Arshia was on our show a couple of weeks back, and he is also a candidate for the Texas State Representative in House District 49, but he was on our show back. He was just elected August of last year, so he has 1 more year in his term, which will end August in 2027. And he is our co-chair from Texas. So you'll be able to read all of his information there. And then we have Craig Cayetano, who I talked about earlier. Uh, he was elected in August 2025. So we do have Craig here. And then we have Cassandra Lims, co-chair, elected for a 2-year term, August 2024. So in addition to the special election that I'm currently being nominated for, we do have the regular terms that are coming up. And so this seat will be one of those that comes up if Cassandra decides to run again, is nominated again. That is great. For all of the people that are running, like the ones that I'll show you below. But Cassandra Lims is a co-chair. We also have Charles Odestek as co-chair. He'll also have his term coming up for the August 2026 election. Justin Pagliano in Connecticut, 2-year term. And Tama Yeager in Virginia, August 2025 term. So that will be 2027, along with Arshia and Wisham Sharifidin. And I know I did not say your name correct, Wazam. You know, I love you, mad respect for you. If you haven't seen Wissam and some of the things that he's doing, you should definitely check him out. He is the author of The Awaited Arab State, and he has done a lot of things with us to give us knowledge about what is going on in the Persian Gulf area, the Levant states in the Middle East, what they call it. But this is something that it goes a lot more into that whole area and the region and the history. So if you ever wanted to take a look at that, you can, but his will be up in 2027 election. So he'll be with us for another 2 years, as well as Holly Hart, who's our current secretary, and Mark El Borio. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite friend. Mark El Borio, he was appointed for a special election, which is a 1-year term, and his will expire August 2026. My good friend, Mr. Mark El Borneo, who is the treasurer, and he is our North Carolina co-chair of the Green Party. So Mark and I work very, very, very well together. He is actually the campaign manager for Anthony Aguilar, who is running in District 13 in North Carolina. He is our Gaza whistleblower. And he gets a lot of things going for Anthony. And I get a lot of things going for Michael Dublin, who is running for District 2 in North Carolina. And their districts are like back to back. So it's always there. Hi, Scott. How are you doing? As I always let you guys know, right after my show on Sundays, now that they have moved, they are with me on Sunday. So right after I leave here, I'm going over to see what the news is with the Green live stream. So yes, we love Arshia. Arshia is great. That is Scott with as the host with Edie, and they do the Green live stream, part of our Green Media Initiative. Yay, yeehaw! Doing a lot of great things. When this potential war with Iran started, I got on a text message chat with Scott and Edie, and I was like, hey, let's get together and let's see what's going to happen on this Tuesday, because I don't know who called him Taco Tuesday Trump or Taco Trump or whatever they called him, but he does stuff on Tuesdays, and it was such an amazing show. We had things coming out. It was Scott and I, and we had things just like coming out as they were going through, getting live updates of what was going on. We were watching the Lego videos. So it was a really, really great show. If you didn't get a chance to see it, please go back and watch that. And make sure you watch the Green live stream as they come up. And the reason that they've changed from their Saturday spot is because they are petitioning right now in Illinois to get on the ballot. I am going to actually try to get one of my friends, Political Mike, to come on here and talk to us about ballot access. And the reason I'm going to get my friend Political Mike is because Mike does so much across all the states, working and talking about ballot measures, ballot access issues, what it means to have when we talk about what is it called? Goodness gracious, just slipped off my tongue. ranked choice voting. So he talks a lot about ranked choice voting, understands it very well. So I want to have Political Mike up here. If you're not following him, please follow Political Mark. Please follow the Green live stream. And hey, why don't you follow me as well? So want to have that time to talk about ballot access, because Illinois, believe it or not, has one of the hardest, besides probably New York and Ohio, hardest ballot access fights ever in the country. And it is disgustingly so. So when they originally had their shows on Saturdays, the Green Line Stream on Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, everything was great. And then ballot access season came. And since they are out there trying to collect those ballots to be able to get on the ballot in Illinois, because they have a governor, her name is Griselda, and then the lieutenant governor is Edie. And then they have different candidates that are running for the on the Green Party ballot for Illinois that they have to try to get that ballot access for. And I have learned over time doing things like this that ballot access is not an easy fight. It is a state to state fight. It is sometimes a year to year fight. We had a candidate in Texas, I think it's Eddie, and he won his election. Well, he didn't win his election. I'm sorry. He did not win his election, but he got 2%. It's not like he did governor or president or anything like that, but he won 2% of his election, which got the Texas party, Green Party, 6 years on the ballot. And in North Carolina, we had other candidates besides the governor and the presidential candidate, because neither one of those got 2%. But we did have other candidates get 2%. But because it wasn't the governor or the presidential candidate under North Carolina state law, we did not get ballot access. So it is a state by state thing. And if you see Green Party members out there trying to get ballot access, please, please, please help them out as much as possible, because it is definitely something needed. I guarantee you that. Ballot access is no joke. We try to make sure it is sustainable. And when I say sustainable, I mean something that, since the major two parties don't have to worry about it year by year, I believe, and I'm a firm believer, that if you gain ballot access, you should not lose ballot access unless you are no longer running candidates or you close shop. So what is the point of having ballot access if you're not running candidates, right? That would be something that is logical for me to say, yeah, you no longer need to have ballot access. You're not running candidates. I'm trying to wait until the screen kind of like measures up, because I'm looking kind of crazy on it and it's silly to me. But for those that have the, oh my gosh, this is not going to do me right, huh? I'm seeing how that is going. That's happening to me right now. And I'm not happy with it. So, yay. No. I'm hoping that it gets better. I don't know why it does this to me. So we'll see. Is it better now? All right. Yay. So, yes, ballot access. Again, I believe that you should retain ballot access. Once you get it, as long as you are running candidates, because why else have ballot access if you're not going to run candidates, or the lights shut down. The lights go out. There's no one home. There's no one working for your party anymore. So, for instance, if the Green Party is no longer active in that state, they shut the lights out. They're not reporting any funding or anything like that. Why do you need ballot access? There's your lights are gone. There's nobody home. Well, I need ballot access. If the lights are on, somebody's home, but you're not putting on the people on the ballot, why do you need ballot access? I think it should be just as simple as that, because that's the democratic way to look at it. People should be on the ballot if they have work to get on the ballot, and they are still there putting people on the ballot, and they still have the lights on. Why continue to have to prove that you have ballot, you need to be on the ballot If you've already gotten ballot access, the lights are still on, and you are running candidates, there's no reason for you to continue to prove anything at that point in time. Whether or not the people vote for you, I mean, at this point, with the Democrats and Republicans mainly being the only two people on the ballot, you got a 50-50 chance of winning anyway. So I can very well just say, well, your person didn't win, for 10 years in a row for this. So why should you still have ballot access? And that's a part of gerrymandering. When you have a state that gerrymanders to their advantage, just like North Carolina has done, to make sure that a lot of their constituents who are pretty leftist do not have a voice, because either it's drowned out by the moderate liberals or the Republicans, who are the same people. I can't say anything else than that. If you are still going with Team Red and Team Blue, as they say, then yeah, you are pretty much still going with the same thing. So it's understandable why people will be like, hey, what's happening here? Why are we giving our time to any of that? So I wanted to try to show you all something that because I'm switching gears, but not really. Okay, switching gears, but I'm still here on something, and I wanted to kind of show you what I meant by ballot access. So we have talked about Butch Ware before, and I mistakenly said before that Butch Ware had ballot access back, right? And I'm sorry, Butch, you know how much I care about your campaign. And you will be getting my May $26. So if you haven't been a part of the green media for a while or heard of the things that we've been talking about, it started on the green live stream where Scott and Edie were talking, and I was in the comments talking, and it came about where we were doing 26 for 26. So it's $26 for the 2026 campaign. So I said that I would give $26 to candidates across the country and for the 26 for 26. So I think this month in April, if I'm not mistaken, I did Pete Karas, who is running for, I believe, let me just take a look and see, because sometimes I forget and I don't want to say it wrong. And I believe in his campaign. So he's running for the Secretary of State in Wisconsin. And I will put his campaign website information in there so all my Wisconsin peeps can go ahead and take a look at it. But Pete Karas, Karas, it is PETEKARAS.com. He is running for Wisconsin Secretary of State. So I believe that was my April 26th. So Butch will be my May 26th. So look out there for me now, Butch. You'll be my May 26th person to give for. So I wanted to share some things that Butch has been going through as a part of that ballot access. And these are the reasons why I'm continuing to talk about the ballot access issue, what we can do to enforce those things, like having measures in place to say as long as your lights are on and you're running candidates, you should not lose ballot access. If anything, you should retain ballot access until that fight has stopped. So I'm going to share with you all, if you give me just a moment while it's coming in, I'm going to add it right here so you guys can see it. This is our guy, Mr. Butch Ware, and see if I can make this a little bit bigger.
Do you believe in one election cycle you'll be able to win governorship?
Yeah, in the state of California, we can. The reason is that, so they have what's called a jungle primary. Only the top two candidates advance, irrespective of party. In the state of California, there are actually as many registered independents as there are registered Republicans. Right. The Republican candidates don't do well in this state, so they're actually very susceptible to an independent political attack. We could finish in the first or second position in the state of California with between 13 and 15% of the vote. We're almost guaranteed to make the top two if we get 20% of the vote. The voter turnout is traditionally low. 5.5 million people in a state of 40 million people voted in 2022. Well, what does that mean? There's 1 million Muslims in the state of California, right? It took only 1.5 million votes to get to second place in 2022. If we mobilize the Muslim community and just get decent numbers, then we can coast into second place. And what that would mean is that it's going to be me versus whichever sorry Democrat is left standing on their side of the process. And that would essentially be the end of the duopoly, because they wouldn't be able to hide us anymore. The media is going to have to cover every single speech that I give. And they won't be able to use the argument, you're going to let the state go to the Republicans. They won't be able to use a lesser of two evils argument. So then what will be their argument when it's just green versus blue? So it's a perfect storm. All we need is between 15 and 20% of the vote on June 2nd. And the Democrat control over the state of California is very much in play.
So with that being said, do you see why ballot access is something that they are trying to stop us from having? With Butch having ballot access, not having to fight for it or do anything like that, with Butch being on the ballot, it is the Democrats who are scared. And it's only the Democrats who are scared because that is a Democrat safe area. It's not because it's a Republican safe area, it's a Democrat safe area. So they're trying to keep hold of their seats. But what are they giving to you when keeping hold of those seats? Nothing. They give you nothing in return. So what did they do? The Democrats that are sitting in different places, that are positioned there, like they always try to talk to us about the sleeper cells. There are sleeper cells in the political grounds as we speak, because these same people who are trying to get us off the ballot are themselves Democrats and Republicans. So they use all types of trickery, even though they had to finally admit that they had the information. They just don't want to do what they're supposed to do. Butch Ware should be on the ballot. So if Butch Ware were to get that second place finish, the Democrats would actually have to go against them. The Republicans don't care, because it's not like, they were going to get that spot anyway. That's what they think. And so this is something that we talk about a lot in the different areas. During the presidential election season, we'll say, look, are you in a red state? Do you know that it doesn't matter how much you vote for your blue counterpart, they're not going to win? Vote for a third party instead. Help them get ballot access. And this is what we're talking about. So as you can see, this is a blue state. So are you red in a blue state? Well, if you know you're not going to win, vote for a third party so they can get ballot access. This is exactly the narrative that we are talking about. And this is what we need people to see. I always talk about South Carolina when I say these things. South Carolina is probably redder than the Red Sea. South Carolina hasn't changed from being red, and that old flag hag, South Carolina, probably won't change from being red. I talk about my often hatred of having Jim Clyburn continuously represent a district that I grew up in, and I cannot stand it. It's a blue district, and I don't know why they have blue representative who acts red towards them. Anyway, that's a tangent for another day. So South Carolina is always going to vote red in presidential primary, presidential election. When November comes around, you are going to see the streets run red in South Carolina. So if you are a leftist in South Carolina during the presidential elections, your vote is not something that you are not having it heard. If you sit home, that is having it heard. If you vote, that is having it heard. But you know that there's a difference between having your vote heard versus having your vote be impactful. So if you are a leftist in South Carolina, when it comes to the presidential election, and notice this is what I'm only saying. I'm not saying every election. I'm not saying do this. I'm not trying to do all other things. So that disclaimer is out there. But if you are blue in South Carolina and you want for your vote to be impactful, how about vote for a third party? There is the South Carolina Green Party right there. They do run candidates. They have candidates running right now. They even have a candidate that's going to be running for governor. Check it out. So vote green, because your blue vote is going to be counted. Your voice will be heard. Like, yes, we do want this president, but make it impactful. Make your voice heard and impactful by voting third party, so that those parties can maintain or obtain valid access. So now let's talk about California. When is the last time you've had California vote red for the president? I mean, you might have came close, last time. I don't know, but you're not going to see it. They're blue through and through and through. We've seen that over many, 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 many elections. Like, they call those as soon as the polls close because they know what's going to happen. It's not even a choice, right? So if you are there and you are red in a blue state like California, vote third party. If you don't like the Greens, I mean, okay, I tell everybody vote for what you want. However, there's the libertarians, there are socialists, there are different parties out there that you could vote for, but I do hope you vote green, because that's what I'm here for. So if you're red in a blue state, vote green. If you are blue in a red state, vote green, or whatever third party, and get them to be able to obtain or maintain ballot access, because it will shake the very foundations of what this two-party system that we have is trying to call democracy. They are not actually allowing you the opportunity to see the playoffs happen. Okay, when we think about it, when the NFL has the playoffs and the NBA has the playoffs, you get to see those bracket matches, right? We're not seeing that when we are talking about the political parties. So I'm going to put it to you this way. You are aware that besides the NFL, there are other forms of football, and I'm not talking soccer, because that's, football is what they call soccer around the world. We call it soccer here. There are other places that have football teams. I think The Rock has a football team or whatever available. So they're outside the NFL, but their players can be just as great. Those games can be just as great, but you're not seeing it because the NFL is too concerned about the AFC and the NFC and them going head to head. And if you notice, the NFC and the AFC, red and blue, right? But you have these other football associations over here that are not getting that same energy. That's what we're talking about. That's not, what do we say? That's unsportsmanlike conduct. That's what I'll call it. Unsportsmanlike conduct. When you can't even see the other teams for what they're doing because these other red and blue teams are sitting up there holding all of the power. But you have these great college athletes that are playing their souls out. And they're not even getting paid for anything, but they are getting injured before they even get a chance to hit the big screen. So, those are a lot of things that are happening. You have semi-pro football. My brother-in-law used to play semi-pro football. So I used to go out there and watch their games, and those were amazing. I'd like to watch those more than I'd like to go see the NFL. So, you have different arenas. You have indoor football. If you haven't seen an indoor football game, please go and watch an indoor football game and think about the ballot access when you see indoor football versus the NFL. And now that we have talked about all of that, what I want you all to do is remember to like, subscribe, share, comment. And after you have finished doing all of the things, like, subscribe, share, comment, ding, 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 with the bell, make sure you flip on over to the Illinois Green live stream with Scott and Edie, and let's see and catch up on what's going on throughout the week, because there is a lot happening there. And remember, we will have monthly NC Corner sessions. I'm going to start those, and we'll talk about what's going on in the National Committee of GPUS. And we will also be saying happy early 420 to all our 420 folks out there. Remember, go to gp.org/legalize_marijuana and make sure to sign the petition. Other than that, have a great Sunday. See you all next time. Let's get through it, guys. Have a great Sunday. Bye. Bye, everyone.